Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and I have titled this episode Censorship, Rising Powers, and World Governance, because we're going to be looking at all kinds of things crazy. If you didn't catch on, I was kind of a victim of another hack attack this week. Yeah, another one. Yeah, they're relentless. They really don't stop, and they probably won't stop. But it's okay. It's all for the love of the game. Isn't that right? I talk about this. I have a lot of things planned for you guys in this episode. I have a lot of information I'm really trying to get out there to you guys so we can get a broad scope of what's actually happening. But before I do, updates as always, make sure you're checking out the website, factionsofreedom.jimdo.com. Once you're there, you can look at all the articles, the minicasts, and everything else that we kind of do, all the extra content that we're really putting out there for you guys. And for the people that actually do appreciate the content and want to actually see us grow and help us get to where we're going, help us fight censorship, keep expanding, think about becoming a Patreon exclusive member. It really does help us get to where we're going. And you know, eventually they're not going to have me on their platforms. And if you want to get in while the getting's good, I would definitely appreciate it. It helps us get to where we're going. Also, we're instituting a new newsletter because of all the attacks that we've been under, so definitely check that out. All kinds of different content for you guys, and if you just want to buy a t-shirt, support us that way, you can do that. There's 1,000 different ways to support us, but the point is that you do, and I'm extraordinarily grateful when you do. But I digress. I've already taken up enough of your time, so with that being said, let's jump right into the episode. So like I said, I called this episode Censorship, Rising Powers, and World Governance because we're going to be talking about just that. There's been all kinds of crazy stuff happening over here on this side of the screen, this side of the phone, this side of whatever device you are listening on. And before I got into things, because we're going to be getting into a lot of stuff, as per usual, we're going to be trying to cover all of it. I got a really information-packed episode for you guys, and I'm going to try to cover it as concisely, as real as possible. You see, because there's been a lot going on. So as I said before, we're going to be talking about things like censorship, these hack attacks that I've been under, how they're destroying information, clearly the rising surveillance state, Jeff Bezos having essentially like a contract with the United States military, with the government. It's pretty crazy. These killer robots, the rise of cryptocurrency, and so much more. And clearly these drug-resistant superbugs. There's a lot of different things happening here in the planet, here in the time that we have. But I wanted to start this off by telling you guys I was under attack this week. Fierce, if you couldn't tell. I mean, 2 weeks ago, and I actually did a little mini cast about this for the people that were paying attention to our live segment. About 2 weeks ago, I was a victim of our pages on Facebook were victims of some crazy hacking. It was some people in Serbia that had gained control of our pages. They took down 2 of them, and then we were able to get 2 back, and then we also brought back a third, exposing satanic world government. And so there's a lot of things happening with that on Facebook. So we got those 2 pages taken down, and then this week, we're dealing with the censorship. I had the page basically taken for like a day and a half. It was some people out there in Nevada or Ohio. We were able to get 2 of the different emails that they used. We were able to track that they kept rotating or shuffling emails. They used at least 3 of them. We got 2 of them, and eventually, we were able to recover my account. I was able to get in contact with Instagram, and we fixed it. We fixed the situation. But my point is this: these kinds of things they're going to intensify. This is affirmation of everything that we keep talking about. How it's it's not going to ease up. We're right over the target. This is the contest. This is the fight. This is what it's about. These people are literally trying to stop the information from getting out there. And this is why I'm telling people these days, you see how we expand at every single fight, every turn, everything that ends up happening. We try to do different things. We try to grow more. That's what I'm saying right now, while I can. Make sure you guys are following all those different backups. Freedom's Faction, Paradox Radio, Factions of Freedom, and Noise Era. Those are 4 different backups where I just hang out there just in case situations like this happen. it was important. I felt like it was important and imperative for me to kind of keep a cool head and not freak out like I did before whenever they took down the Facebook page at 10K the other week, you see. But that's what I'm saying. These attacks will continue to intensify. It's only a matter of time until they decide to do something to the YouTube, and I'm sure to the website next. That's why I've never really depended on the monetization of YouTube views and videos and things like that, because I'm not trying to have that be the primary way we make money or do any kind of thing of that nature. It's not about the views, it's about what we're doing, you see. And so this is going to continue. I still haven't even figured out how many different things they've deleted on the page. They took down, which is what I think is kind of crazy, they took down the anti-terror response team, the drills that were taking place in New York City coming around this holiday season. I think that's kind of strange. I don't know how many different posts they did take down. Every single time you see these types of posts right here, where we're basically I'm telling you to go follow, you know, the other pages, go see where we're at on social media. They took down at least 3 weeks worth of that, or 3 days, not 3 weeks. Sorry, and that's crazy. They're going to do that. You know, and this is just somebody that could have been looking for my information. This could have been somebody that was reading our DMs, that was reading my conversations, reading all kinds of different stuff. Because here's the even crazier part. They got into the DMs. They deleted all of the messages that people sent me. I have like 11 now. And I couldn't count all the messages that people had sent me over the times and over the months that, you know, we've been dealing with these different things that I eventually wanted to get back to. My point is this. I don't know if this person was doing it for fun or if they were doing it for ransom, because they did ask for DM for promotions. I'm sure they were trying to get some kind of money out of it. But this is what's going to continue happening. It could have been an independent person. It could have been the feds. It could have been who knows it. But for this to occur at this time, whenever we're fighting this much stuff, we're having this much traffic, this much attention. I mean, look, Zero Hedge earlier today, they actually the owner's personal account, I think it got shut down. They said that they were unable to post on their personal Facebook for a while, and it's crazy. I feel like it's crazy because these types of things are happening to everybody. Everybody is facing some kind of form of censorship. Like it's wild. They're shutting the clamps on everybody. No one is safe to this. You see. And the reason why I want to shed light on this and talk about this in this fashion is so we really understand like what is happening, what these people are doing. They are literally trying to shut down information. They're trying to control information, control outcomes. We thought it was going to be something simple with just the statues. This is why I'm telling people, back up your information. Back it up. On 2 separate servers and on a physical drive that I keep here in the studio, as well as in other places. I have multiple places where I back up the seasons. Right now, I think it's just season 4 and season 5 that are live right now. And you guys can purchase some of our earlier seasons. I don't have them out there because I feel like I sound super goofy and super cheesy, but you can get those on the website. You can you can check those out. But my point is this: I put all this stuff out there. I put all this content out there so that you guys can really see how diverse things really have to be in the face of this kind of enemy, this nameless enemy. This is the technocracy. This is the scientific dictatorship, where they're quietly working in the background, deleting posts, blocking comments, stopping things from being said, basically telling you to reword things. Nope, that's not going to work. Doing all kinds of different things that they can to stop information. This is social engineering. This is thought control. There are so many different things that come with this. And that's why I feel like it's imperative to have so many different discussions in the depths and ranges that we do on the page and that I'm trying to push you guys towards on the website. Because you got to understand, they can kick me off of their servers, they can kick me off of their platforms. But that's why we've got to create something entirely alternative. Like I said, with every single incident that we've come up against, you've seen us grow and expand. Whenever we were dealing with, what was it? Whenever we were dealing with the other recent attack You know, I said let's create a newsletter. I'll put the link in the description bar below so you guys can subscribe to that, because I'm going to start doing that. They can take the pages away, but they can't take the information away. They can't stop me from sending it directly to you. And if we have a weekly newsletter that that coalesces all kinds of different information, all kinds of different articles, all types of different videos, and then you get your round of the week episode, you're good. You don't need to be on their platforms. And that's eventually one of the things that we'll do. We're merely using their systems of control, their systems of enslavement. We're merely using them as tools of enlightenment. This is why I'm telling you guys, you do need to support me. I do need your support. Yes, sharing the articles helps. Yes, doing the shout outs definitely helps. It definitely appreciates that. People do find the page, and I'm extraordinarily grateful. What I'm trying to say is please become a Patreon exclusive member. It's not much. But you got to think, for the amount of expanding that we've done in the short amount of time due to all of these fights, imagine what else we would do. Right now, you're seeing us basically operate off of duct tape and PVC. Real janky operation for what I really would like to do. I would love to hire people. I would love to have a daily operations. I would love to have all kinds of different things in the mix. Our own writing team. Eventually, I would like to get a forum up and running to where people are having discussions and conversations about these types of things. That's all my page is just one massive forum housing all kinds of different kinds of conversations. How to clone your dog. More than 1,000 people have been killed in 2017 by police. Weaponized mosquitoes, you know. Congress considering manipulating the weather, and we'll talk about that later. The national grid going down drill. We'll talk about that as well. Sean Parker of Facebook talking about his brain, or not his brain, what kind of healthcare he'll get and being able to live forever. All my website, or all the page is just one massive forum where we house these kinds of conversations, because I feel like we should have these kinds of discussions. But the fact that they don't want these kinds of discussions to get out there so that we can actually look at our enemy and know what kinds of things we're up against should show you guys not only my intentions, but theirs. I've been dealing with this censorship since 2015. It's currently 2017. The page has grown with this. They've got to do things differently this time around. They've got to figure out a way to start messing with us financially, creatively, and all kinds of other things. But this is why I'm depending upon you guys to continue to investing your time, your love, your patience, and your dollars, your hopes in me, because I swear I'm really not trying to put them to waste. You see what we're going to do. You see where we're going to go. And these people see the trajectory that we're on, and they don't want us to take it. They don't want us to go down this path. And I know that sounds crazy, but what else is there? What would be the point of controlling information? Look at all these Antifa dickheads. They think they're Antifa. They are the fascists. This is the problem whenever people are misinformed. I had I couldn't talk to you guys about how many people say, "Oh, I'm unfollowing you because of your opinion of Trump. Oh, I'm unfollowing you because of your opinion on this." And then I asked them, "Okay, that's very valid. I understand, but have you actually listened to an episode or listened to my opinion on Trump? Or are you just guesstimating off of the one dimension that you see?" The information that we put out there is meant to be diversified so that you, the people, can truly understand what is happening. We're picking up a secondary show. If you guys listen to the On the Wake Up Radio, we might have a bi-weekly slot over there on Sunday. We're picking up a second show on top of already working with Exposing Satanic World Government and the Underground Resistance Network. We are picking up these many different projects to get the information out there. Like I said, I would like to do daily broadcasts, but we don't have the resources at the moment to expand at that rate. And if we continue to expand at this rate, you see what they will already do. They will hack us. They will read one of the emails. I actually have to send out a brand new type of email to you guys because of one of the ones that has been compromised. God knows what they want. I wasn't informed, but I did tease the jerk. I told him, "I'm going to come find you." I was like, "Don't worry, I'll get my page back." I wasn't worried. But my point is this, guys. These attacks, they will continue to happen. This is the technocracy. They can destroy information. It's a massive archive. That's all the pages and that's all the website's going to be. It's a massive archive, a tome for information, because that's what it deserves to be. You see, that's all I'm really doing, is housing all of these discussions and trying to get us aware and woke to what's happening. It's a daily process. I'm learning new stuff every day. I have somebody ask me the other day, why would they attack you? How do you know this information? I thought when I first started, I had a good grasp of what was really going on, understanding what was really happening. Actually, I thought I was pretty cool. And you guys hear me talk about this, coming in from the paranormal angle with the alien agenda. I have learned so much doing just this, and I'm trying to share it to others, not through conventional means, mind you, or conventional memes. but I'm serious. And the reason why we have to look at it this way is because this is that, I hate to rip off of Alex Jones, this is that information warfare. This is that technocracy. This is why it's a battle for your mind, body, and soul. Your mind makes your body act, which eventually will determine where your soul goes. But if you don't have control over your mind, over your body, your flesh, your soul, your emotions, your spirit, anything, and you're just a victim to this system, they win. We've got to understand what we're up against. This is the scientific dictatorship. And it's not just simply clunky robots doing backflips, carrying on. It's nothing like that we expect. It's a little bit more complex than that. We would like to think that, these people don't have this kind of control, but if we don't understand the amount of power that they have versus what we're allowed to do, the power that we have at our disposal, they win. We're much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And whenever we start to unite, whenever we start to come together, whenever we actually start to see the effects and the changes that we can create as a team, that's whenever they try to shut us down. You see. So I wanted to get that out there. In the first half of the show, I really wanted to tell you guys, look, dude, I actually do go through a lot of stuff on the back end, but like ISIS, you don't give these people media, don't give them attention, because the minute you do, they think they're winning. They think that they're successful. But after this, after these recent attacks and all the stuff that's been happening to me behind the scenes, I felt it appropriate to let you guys know that this is the form of censorship that I face. These hack attacks where they go back through and they destroy posts, where they just try to read what's going on in my life. I can't just be one brother trying to help everybody. That's too much. I can't even keep up with the news. I can't even post. I can't even try to, help people. Okay. Well, screw me, right? And that's how these people are. It's really crazy. So when we come back from a break, we're going to be talking about the rising surveillance state. Jeff Bezos having some weird contract with the military, what I would consider a contract with the military. The rise of cryptocurrency, Bill Gates' smart city, all of this technocratic stuff that they're trying to push us into. And how, if you think about it, all this crazy uploading into this digital reality, it might seem like it's efficient and whatnot, but we need to really look at that being the world government system. We already get upset and triggered when we look at our phone, but it's crazy. It's crazy. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the technocracy and the New World Order. This is Factions of Freedom. You guys are listening to Censorship, Rising Powers, and World Government. Stay tuned. And we are back. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for being here. Like I said, if you like what you're seeing and you want to try to help us get where we're going, you want to help us fight all this crazy censorship, think about becoming a Patreon exclusive member. Or just, donate $1 every month. It really does help us. I'm still trying to figure out so many different things along the way. I am far from being perfect. And I'm really trying to advance, even in the face of all this nonsense. So if you like what you see, you guys want to help us get to where we're going, think about becoming a Patreon exclusive member, or go to the store on our website, the Battalion's Bazaar, go buy a t-shirt. Go buy some of those previous seasons that I don't really talk about because I don't want to sound nerdy and lame and quiet. But anyway, let's get into all of this other stuff. Like I said, the rising surveillance state. Jeff Bezos having this contract with the military, and basically scientism gone in overload. The reason why I wanted to say, or at least talk about this Jeff Bezos military thing, is because we really got to look at what that means. We're, like I said, we're going to get into to Bill Gates creating a smart city out there, and Arizona, for sure. And some of those controversial things that Sean Parker of Facebook said. But let's get into some of this stuff with Jeff Bezos and the military. Amazon teaming up with the government because they already bought Whole Foods, which I think is kind of crazy. The fact that they're like literally, and I talked about this before, them being able to drop ship groceries to your door, and they're working on this type of technology. They really are. It's crazy. Amazon Fresh, Amazon Go, it's crazy. But right here, this is from Mint Press News. It's by Whitney Webb. Its title is Bezos cashes in on lobbying Washington with Amazon's $53 billion deal to supply the Pentagon. And let's put this up. I put it up November 16th. It says that the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year of 2018, in addition to including passages involving regime change in Venezuela and exorbitant expenditures on the maintenance and expansion of American empire, continues to surprise. Its latest draft includes a measure that will cement a multi-billion-dollar deal between the Department of Defense and the U.S. megacorporation Amazon, run by the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos. Now, before I continue, I actually talked about this before. At the start of the year, whenever we had Trump in office, in our episode, Trumping in the Technocracy. Definitely go back and check that out. In that episode, we basically talk about how he has all kinds of different people. He has Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, people from Walmart, all over the place in his little private cabinet that are going into Trump Tower that are doing these types of deals. That, to me, tells me, again, that he's trying to streamline everything. This is the technocracy. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make everything basically readily accessible, put it on a smart grid, calculating it, categorizing it. It's crazy. So definitely go back and check out that episode because this to me confirms it. But continuing on, it says that if the NDAA is approved in its current form, which is highly likely according to the experts, Bezos' Amazon is set to gain $53 billion in revenue by becoming the chief supplier of an array of goods to the Department of Defense. What would constitute as an array of goods? What is an array of goods to the Department of Defense? That's crazy, if you ask me. The deal is laid out in a section titled Procurement Through Commercial E-commerce portals, in which the DoD would be required to purchase commercial off-the-shelf products such as office supplies from e-commerce portals dominated by Amazon. Though congressmen, included the NDAA authors, Representative Mac Thornberry, have asserted that there will be a healthy competition among portals. Amazon's massive advantages in these markets are clear, particularly given how Amazon often overtakes markets on its own, its free market platform, by edging out third-party vendors. What they're basically saying is they're killing free market. They're making things super cheap, super deliverable, super readily accessible, and they're crushing markets, bro. Destroying things. And that's good. That's again, if you ask me, more of that stuff where we talk about the socioeconomic reformation of society, where we see again with Walmart. I mean, could you imagine that? It's only a matter of time until they buy Walmart. They're undercutting Walmart. That's how cheap stuff is. I mean, look at, like I said, look at what Walmart did. It came through, it destroyed the mom and pop shop, and so all those people, all those mom and pops ended up working for Walmart. And now you got Bezos and Amazon coming through, undercutting Walmart, so undercutting everybody. So basically, the only way that people are able to get stuff will be through this. That's why they're dominating. They're becoming a monopoly, and it's crazy. It's scaring all kinds of other people. It scares me, you know, because you're looking at it. You're basically looking at having to either get a membership with Amazon, who now has a deal with the Pentagon. So the Pentagon, through probably some kind of third party, has access to your information through Amazon. And I mean, we were already aware of that. You know, look at Amazon's Alexa. Whenever they said Amazon or Alexa, are you connected to the CIA? You know, this is very real stuff that we're talking about, but this is all that Internet of Things, that smart city, that smart grid, that technocracy, where it's all intertwined into one another. This is that surveillance state. But let me get into this. It says, let's finish this, and we'll get into some other stuff. It says, in addition, the Coalition for Government Procurement, CGP, stated in a memo issued last month that the only one or two companies would be able to participate given the parameters put forth by the current version of the bill. 7 industry sources cited by Bloomberg stated that Amazon tops that very short list. The memo further argues that the current proposal is likely to result in monopoly or duopoly control over access to the federal market for commercial items. Yeah, precisely what I was saying. They're consolidating. You see. Given that Amazon accounted for 43% of all online retail sales made in the U.S. last year, it is clear who stands to benefit the most from this new proposed federal acquisition model. Like, precisely, man. Like, that's what it is. These people are becoming super rich. So let's jump over here to another rich person people who have been listening for a while know I have a villainous hatred towards Bill Gates. This dopey son of a gun. Look at him. 225,000 acres in Arizona to create his smart city. So let's take a listen at what this jabroni has to say.
It looks like a whole lot of nothing. An undeveloped area about 45 minutes west of downtown Phoenix off I-10 near Tonopah. But this land is now in the hands of one of the richest men on earth.
I have a dream that every child in America will attend a great school.
One Bill Gates, and his plan is a big one. Belmont Partners, an Arizona-based real estate investment group, says a firm owned by Gates dropped a whopping $80 million to kickstart the development of a brand new community there called Belmont. The end goal? Turn this blank slate, roughly the size of Tempe, into its own smart city. Driverless cars, digital networks, data centers, you name it.
Bill Gates is known for innovation and those kind of things, and I think he picked the right location. He's coming to Arizona.
Ronald Schott of the Arizona Technology Council says this spot, it looks like a whole lot of
all right
nothing.
then. So I think, you know, like I said, for the people that have been listening, you know I have a hatred for Bill Gates because he's literally over here having the COPSEC formula, where they're basically saying, you know, through vaccines and through TV, through depopulation efforts and campaigns, they can keep the population down, they can keep the amount of carbon emissions that we put out down, and all kinds of other things. Now he's creating the smart city. Now he's taking 25,000 acres out in Arizona to create a land basically for smart cities. Now, if you guys listened to that episode or that minicast that we did where we talked about smart cities and robot citizens, we talked about how Saudi Arabia was doing the same thing. That was basically 33 times the size of New York, called Neom. They were basically creating a place that was designed to have all kinds of sustainable energy or renewable energy, electronics. They were going to have all kinds of kiosks, automation, basically everything in accordance with Agenda 21. These smart cities, as I've tried to like reiterate throughout the entirety of our show, this is the ultimate surveillance state. It seems like a good thing on top, but you've got to realize who's running the system behind, who has access to your your information, who has access to your patterns, who has access to all these little insights that we give up simply because we go into these smart cities. You see, they're investing. Saudi Arabia is investing $500 billion to create this. Mohammed bin Salman is taking $500 billion out to go create new land. or to create a whole new city near Jordan and Egypt that's entirely powered by renewable energy. And now we have Bill Gates doing the same thing. This is Agenda 21. This is Agenda 2030. This is why we see California trying so hard to bend to the will of these types of operations. This is more of that world government that we'll be getting into later. But I wanted to talk about this right now. Jeff Bezos literally having a contract with the government, and then Bill Gates becoming like trying to imitate Donald Trump and becoming some kind of real estate tycoon, creating his own type of city. You see. But you got to wonder, well, what kind of things are going out there? They're going to house all kinds of different, well, they won't house all kinds of different people. They're going to house special types of people. They're going to only request a certain type of people. Only certain types of people will be there or allowed there. And this is something that we'll get into here shortly, are things like Asgardia, the new space nation, and things of this nature. Let's get into some of these killer robots. You see, these are what I'm trying to talk about. They'll create their entire breakaway civilization. Here, we'll see them. They'll go into these little hubs, these smart cities, where they'll be protected. They'll have all kinds of technology, and we, as society, will be on the outsides. People who are not in these areas, who are not protected, you see, who are not allowed, they'll be subject to, you know, all kinds of other problems. You see, they're trying to basically take their own type of people, their own civilization, and Alphabet's done this as well. Google has done this as well with their Sidewalk Labs project. That's all underneath the guise of this. They want to try to create a smart a environment that's basically dependent upon technology, or that is entirely technologically based. You see, so whenever we have Jeff Bezos doing all kinds of stuff with Amazon, we're understanding or getting an insight into how these people are operating. Here, let's take a look at Amazon Go's new, Amazon Go's new cashless store. You see, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, and then we'll get into this Asgardia situation.
Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Welcome to Amazon.
And so, you know, one of the comments that I think is beautiful that will illustrate a lot of what I'm talking about, a lot of the comments that we get whenever we post that type of video, you know, as people say, oh man, these people are going to walk right out with that stuff. That's only going to be so up there for so long. You know, that's not going to happen. Well, you're right. That's not going to happen where you're from. That's not going to happen where you're at. Everything I was saying before with a certain type of people that will abide by rules, people that will be just, people that will do these types of things. They're not going to have, and you got to think about it, this is going to sound messed up. Why do they put Planned Parenthood centers in low-income neighborhoods? What are the projects? They're not going to put Amazon Go stores over there in the Bronx or in SoCal. You see what I'm saying? They're going to have it in certain places where these types of people, these hipsters, these trendies, these yuppies, you know, these whatever you want to call them, these plastic people, they're going to put these types of stores there. This technology is going to come out, and eventually people will abide by them, but they're going to allow people who are already in this system, that are about this type of life, do that. You don't think that, you know, people like ourselves who are aware of these types of things, that, you know, see what kind of freedoms we give up and what kind of security, and see all the kinds of things behind this, we see that right off the bat we don't want to take part in this social experiment. That's okay though. They already have enough people who are willing to do that. They have the psychographic information to take care of these types of things. This is what they're trying to do. This is more of that smart city. I can assure you, in Bill Gates' little community that he's trying to create, they will have this. They will have more things like this. So they'll have it in Neom, in Saudi Arabia. That is the future. They already, I forget what it's called over there in the East, but we did a report on it. They are doing these types of things. Let's see if we can get Sean Parker in here to talk about his question or his reasoning behind him questioning Facebook's influence, because these types of things are important. Everything I'm here to try to talk to you about is about social media is social engineering. You really have to look at it like that. What are people contributing? What are they being influenced by? What are they thinking? What kinds of conversations are they having? That's why at the start of the show, I told you guys my intention behind all this is to house these kinds of discussions. But whenever you're taking a look behind the curtains, somebody's going to get angry whenever you look at that. So let's take a listen to Sean Parker of Facebook talking about its influence.
How do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible? And that means that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you, more likes and comments. I mean, it's a social validation feedback loop that it's like it's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. And I think that the inventors, creators, and it's me, it's Mark, it's the Kevin Systrom at Instagram, it's all of these people, understood this consciously, and we did it anyway. How do we consume?
You see how he says it all sketchy. And there's a clip later on, I'll try to get it up for you guys if I can, where he basically talks about since he's rich and has all kinds of money, he'll have better access to healthcare. But like he said, he went away. He went ahead with it anyway, knowing that consciously he's giving us the same kind of feeling of dopamine whenever we do something, whenever we click. He's basically saying that social media is a drug. You see, saying that what we're doing is basically rewiring the brain. This is very true, and this is why I make sure all that you guys see and hear from me is conscious information. It's stuff to make you think, stuff to make you pull back and really look at what's going on in the world around us. You see, whenever we're talking about social media, whenever we're talking about social engineering, all these things that they're trying to put in front of us, this society that they're trying to create, like I said, they're not going to have all these different, they're not going to allow all these people to have access to all these types of wonderful technologies. You see, they're exploiting human psychology for a reason. They're seeing who is actually understanding of these types of things, who gets what's going on, who's with it, who's not. They're creating an entire society among themselves. You see, and I'll get into this here shortly. How the government in China is manipulating its society, its citizens, with social media, and they're well aware of that. That's why they're in such good. That's why they have such a good relationship with Mark Zuckerberg. But let's play for you guys that clip of Sean Parker talking again about the vulnerability of the human psychology.
Okay, you will be. And then they would say, no, I value my real life interactions. I value the moment. I value presence, and I value intimacy. And I would say, well, you're a conscientious objector. That's okay. You don't have to participate, but we'll get you eventually. and like, I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying, because the unintended consequences of of a network when it grows to 1 billion or 2 billion people, and it literally changes your relationship with society, with each other, with it probably interferes with productivity in weird ways. God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. Anxiety is a huge problem now. Of course, anxiety was always a big problem in high school. Who didn't have anxiety in high school? But the surveys that have been going on for years are showing a huge rise in anxiety amongst high school kids and younger. And you have to wonder if there isn't some, if the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them, to really understand it. That thought process was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you, more likes and comments. I mean, it's a social validation feedback loop that it's like it's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology.
Crazy. Crazy. But that's what I'm talking about. That is exactly everything that we talk about when we're looking at how crazy and diverse this situation is. Like you said, a social media or a social validation feedback loop. Giving them a dopamine hit. Post this, post that. Give us more of your information. You like it. Like you said, we'll get you eventually. We'll get you eventually. That is something that a machine would say, or a drug that a drug dealer would say. Oh, don't worry, I'll get you hooked. Yeah, you can say no, but I'll get you eventually. It's okay. Just keep hanging around. But that's how it is. It's very gradual. It's over time. That's how these people work. They're very aware of what they're doing. Like he said, like Sean Parker just said. Oh, you're a conscientious objector? That's okay. We'll get you eventually. We have people who are willing to do this. You may not want or even be allowed to go to the Amazon Go store. That is okay. We have people who are willing to do this. We have the experiments. We will do them. It's crazy. It is really crazy when you take a step back and you look at it. So let's get into this. Let's talk about what China's doing to their citizens, because this too is important. And I also want to get into this breakaway civilization that we see popping up in the news again, Asgardia. More of this, more of the breakaway civilization, more of them saying, what, get ready. We're going to leave here. We're not part of this, or we're just going to be right there, in near Earth orbit, watching you guys kill yourselves. Right? So I put this up November 15th. It's from the Drudge Report feed. It says that China is defining ways for governments to manipulate citizens via socials. It says that China's army of keyboard propagandists have set the standard for manipulating public opinion online, and a growing number of countries are trying to emulate the model. And so this is where I feel like I'm at. Before I get into this, I feel like this is the kind of nonsense that I have to deal with. I got a lot of people that say, oh, how is your information valid? How can you confirm this? How is this definitive? Well, to be honest, there's no way for me to do that, because you got to realize there are paid search results that are literally designed to go against what I'm saying here, that you can see. What I am simply talking about is what you can see truthfully with your eyes. But there are paid searches and paid stories, paid articles, misinformation, actual trolls, people who are sponsored by the government who are doing this, who are out there to put out propaganda. But people don't look at that. Nope, I can't just be one person helping. Nope, I got to get censored. So let me get into this article. It says that the iconic image of a man holding his fist while shopping, obstructing the path of a tank in China's Tiananmen Square in 1989 became the defining image of China's censorial government. But in the age of the internet, social media has become the front line in the Communist Party battle to control and suppress dissent. The government, so-called keyboard army, overwhelms keyboard warriors, overwhelms social media sites with positive stories about the Communist Party, described by researchers as cheerleading content. to control the message and drown out criticism and negative stories about the regime. The unofficial wing of the Chinese government responsible for the program is known as the 50-cent Party. It allows just enough critical content to maintain the illusion of dissent while diverting attention towards positive propaganda. The name reportedly stems from a rumor that the members were each paid 50 cents for every post that helped the government. Could you imagine that? 50 cents, half a dollar for every post you put out. $2 you put out, boom, that's a dollar right there. Now imagine that. But at the same time, you think you're helping your country? What did I literally just say? There are paid search results. These people are getting paid 50 cents. What is Operation Mockingbird? That is the CIA and the FBI. That is those alphabet letter agencies that are literally writing the scripts for these people. But now they got paid trolls, paid propagandists out there getting paid 50 cents for every post that helped the government. That is crazy. That is crazy. They say although there is little evidence to support this theory. Well, I'm sure it could be a theory over there. This is very real over here. But continuing on, it says a recent study by researchers at the Harvard University, Stanford University, and the University of California, San Diego conducted what they described as the first large-scale empirical analysis of the operation. The paper, titled, quote, "How the Chinese Government Fabricates Social Media Posts for Strategic Distraction, Not Engaged Argument," set out to explore claims the Chinese government employed around 2 million workers to manipulate the country's social media. The researchers were able to dissect what they referred to as China's internet propaganda machine with the help of 2014 leak of hacked emails that received the extent of the program. Quote, basically they flood the web with overwhelmingly positive content about China's politics and culture and history. What it amounts to is a sprawling distraction campaign rather than an attempt to sell a set of politics or defend the policies of the regime. Author Margaret Robert told Vox this week. The posts are not necessarily so-called fake news, but rather stories that flatter the regime and talk about how great Chinese history is or how dominant Chinese sports teams are. So that's what I'm talking about. These types of things are very real. They literally have people that are out there controlling government opinion. This is why you have got to question everything around you. Like I said, somebody getting upset at me because of my stance on Trump. Don't worry, I had this stance on Obama. I don't praise my next slave master. I don't praise my next owner. But in all reality, I look at what is actually happening. I think it's important for us to have a critical view of what's happening around us. And in a weird way, I feel like because of all this crazy criticism of Trump, we're not actually able to have anything good that comes out that we can see, and thus whenever you say anything that's good, they consider you a Trump supporter, but really you're just trying to say look at the pluses plus the minuses, and it's really crazy. But this is again why I feel like they're trying to legalize lunacy. In a weird way, they're conducting the same types of psyops here in America with Antifa, with all these other people that are carrying on acting this kind of crazy. So while we're here talking about China, I think this is another crazy concept as well. China urging Christian peasants to replace pictures of Jesus with a Xi Jinping. So they're basically saying, you know what, and that's the same thing out of North Korea. You know what? Get rid of your pictures of Jesus, you Christian peasants. You need a picture of the president. Your president is now the God King. That is crazy. That is crazy. These people, they're about this, man. They're about this life. They're about all this crazy stuff that we see happening. So I'm going to get into this. I'm going to fly through this real quick, and then we're going to talk about Asgardia, this breakaway civilization, and then we're going to also talk about the articles of impeachment that they're trying to drop against Trump. I see all kinds of crazy things happening geopolitically, but let me get into this real quick. I put this up from Technocracy News. It's by Francis Martel, November 15th. It says, China urges Christian peasants to replace pictures of Jesus with Xi Jinping. It says technocrats view Christianity as ignorant, mythical, superstitious, illogical, and even harmful, especially the technocracy. It is not surprising that in China, Chairman Xi seeks to displace Jesus as the main figure of worship. Sound familiar? Enter North Korea. Chinese officials and residents in the rural area of Jiangxi province have revealed a government plan to melt the hard ice in the heart of China, in the heart of Christians towards communism by denying them pivotal poverty relief packages if they do not replace images of Jesus in their household with photos of President Xi Jinping. one official stated that the move was necessary because Christians are, quote, ignorant and need to be taught to worship the state, not God. So I'm gonna pause right there. When you begin to worship the state, not only is I'm coming in here saying, you know, scientism is something we need to look at. Clearly, statism is something we need to look at. When you believe that the state offers you everything, you become just another one of these people. So, and again, that's kind of what I feel like is happening over here in America. There's a lot of stuff where people are trying to tell you, oh, you're not American because you don't like this, or you're not American because you don't do that, or you don't do what they would consider American. This is, again, fascism. There's a lot of different things going on right now, but when you're trying to worship the state, when the state is your God, when the state tells you how to act, oh, you're not allowed to have this on your lawn, you're not allowed to have that on your lawn, you're not allowed to do this or this or that. You see what I'm saying? This is when you lose your identity. You become a puppet, a jackboot of the state, or that's a police officer, but you become a peasant of the state. You're allowed to have your religion. You're allowed to have your spirituality. That is your last line of defense. That's the highest form of protest. But these people don't even want that. Let me get back into this so we can move on. It says that the move is the latest in a string of crackdowns against Christianity in the Xi era. Xi regime views Christianity, which has experienced a popularity boom in the past decade, as a challenge to the supremacy of the Communist Party's growing cult of the personality around Xi himself. The South China Morning Post first picked up on social media posting that revealed the program, noting that the post showed someone replacing their Christian images with Xi Jinping's official headshot, and praised local Communist Party officials from having transformed locals, quote, from believing in religion to believing in the party. The social media post tracked efforts in the town of Huangjibu in southeastern Jiangxi province. It claimed that up to 600 residents had, quote, voluntarily replaced their images of Jesus, resulting in 453 new photos of Xi hanging on the living room walls. The Washington Post, which also reported on the post, noted the Communist Party officials in Yugin County in Jiangxi, where Huangjingbu located, had noted with panic that the rapid growth of the region's Christian population had expressed, quote, a sense of crisis about it in regional meetings in October. This new effort may have been a result of a brainstorming to solve the problem of more people believing in Jesus than communism. The South China Morning Post confirmed the efforts of Kuan Yan, identified as chairman of Huangjibu's People Congress. Like, it's crazy. That's crazy. So basically they're saying, you know, you are not getting these government packages unless you replace this picture of Jesus Christ that you have hanging right here with the picture of the current president. That is exactly like some stuff out of North Korea. That is exactly out of North Korea. That is crazy. That blows my mind just a little bit. Actually, a lot of it. Because that is some next level mind control, social engineering. But that's what we're moving towards. These are the rising powers. That's what these people are trying to do. They're trying to bolster their ranks, but at the same time isolate themselves and create more power. So while we have the time, and we'll go over this real quick, we'll talk about Asgardia, the new space nation that's allowing citizenship. While we have time, I'll try to talk to you guys about how we're basically sectioning off. This is the rise in nationalism around the entire world, and it seems like it's the dissolution of the New World Order, but all this basically does is create regional powers. Yeah, we might not be following what seems like global governance, you know, like New World Order, but all these people are abiding by some kind of agenda, and we might try to switch it up, but it's crazy. But yeah, let me get into this article right here. Asgardia, the new space nation, allows citizenship, and this is an article we put up on our website November 15th. It says that the world's very first space nation launched this week, but despite the fact that 300 members applied for membership over a year ago, over the last year, no people were on board. The nation launched early Saturday from Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. CNET reported this week as an orbital ATK Antares rocket carrying a CubeSat named Asgardia 1. The satellite is the size of a milk carton and called the Space Kingdom of Asgardia. The creators lauded this launch as establishing the first nation to have all of its territory in space, though no countries have acknowledged its statehood. And that's how these things start, with a simple idea. That's how it starts. And the reason why I keep trying to bring this stuff up, and I talk about it, the breakaway civilization, these people trying to live in near-Earth orbit, the weaponization of space, the military-industrial complex, deep state, and how they're trying to do all this stuff, is because the idea of them literally launching themselves in near-Earth orbit is to sit here and watch us destroy ourselves, let down the giga-death, let loose the giga-death, let loose all of the carnage, let loose the bio-warfare, let loose the nukes, let loose the genetically modified mosquitoes, let loose all of the chaos. And because, they're in space, the times of everything happens different, the rotations of the planet versus being in space, they age differently. They'll sit there and basically watch us kill ourselves. I know this sounds silly, but they've got to get an infrastructure started. The International Space Station, that's too public, that's too commercial, that's too in the air. I mean, how many times, and I didn't get to posting this last week or earlier this week, how many times did we hear about SpaceX launching satellites into the air? They're trying to commercialize space. They're trying to do all kinds of different things with what's happening right above us. But let me continue on with this article. It says, for now, the primary benefit of, quote, citizenship is being able to store data on Asgardia 1 while it's in orbit. Even so, the satellite nation has terms and conditions and is subject to Austrian copyright law, so it's not free of earthly constraints. In fact, the creators intend to bring human forms of governments to the new space nation, noting on their website the virtues of democracy and promoting parliamentary elections. They also have proposed a constitution and law and intend to elect 12 cabinet members and a head of state. Only those who support the Constitution will have the right to upload data to the satellite. Asgardia will have taxes, though only businesses will be forced to contribute. Individual taxes will apparently be voluntary. The website explains that, quote, people can decide what amount of tax they would like to pay. The country will also have passports, IDs, and a national bank, business regulations, and a cryptocurrency called Solar. According to the Asgardia's website, the nation was created with 3 top goals in mind: to ensure the peaceful use of space, to protect the Earth from space hazards, and to create a demilitarized and free scientific base of knowledge in space. So this is what they're trying to do. I know it sounds silly, the size of a milk carton. It's got to start somewhere. But then you start thinking about Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, Elon Musk's SpaceX, all the other programs that we don't know about. You see, they're trying to do something in space. They're trying to break off from civilization. They're trying to say that we're better than you. We have the science, we have the technology, we have the people, we have the genes. We're better than you. This is transhumanism. They want to try to take themselves out of here. You see. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about things like the New World Order, world governments, climate change, and gene editing. How all these things, they tie into this breakaway civilization that we're talking about. You see. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about all that and more. This is Factions of Freedom. You guys are tuned in to Censorship, Rising Powers, and World Governance. Stay tuned. And we are back. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for sticking around and hearing all this crazy stuff going on. Before I went on the break, I told you we were going to be talking about climate change, world government, the new world order, and all this other crazy stuff that we see going on. Coming off of how we're talking about the breakaway civilization and all this other crazy stuff that they're trying to do. We need to talk about what does that look like? How does that start? Why would they want to break off into space? What's wrong with living over here on the planet? Well, over here on the planet, we're subject to all kinds of different hassles, hazards, and all kinds of other things. But my point is this, is they can get every kind of country controlled somehow. They can begin to manipulate the world stage, therefore making each country abide by the world government plan. So what I'm trying to say is if they can bring every country down to a certain level of subservience, they can still have their world government. We think it's the United Nations. We think it's something that's going to be very obvious. That's not how these people work. They don't have that kind of power yet. They don't have that kind of unilateral power to be there. They have to take time in getting there. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say by them impeaching Trump, this starts more of the deconstruction of America. By them impeaching Trump, and I know, trust me, I have complicated opinions on this man. But if they can take down the head of state, where does that leave us? Basically rudderless. We're going to trust Mike Pence? Where are we going to go? Have you seen the nominees that are coming up next? Oprah, Kid Rock, The Rock, Mark Zuckerberg. What is happening to our country? Joe Biden? Creepy Joe Biden? Really? John McCain? Like, these are the people that are going to pick up the torch. So trust me, Hillary Clinton, oh my God. These are the people that are going to pick up the torch if we impeach Trump, get him out of office. Yeah, but where are we going to go? What's going to happen with that? That's why we see so many different things happening on the world stage. Why nationalism is rising. That, again, I said, if they can keep every country thinking, we're about our district, we're about our nation, we're about our country, the head of state, the country, the dictator, the president, the prime minister, whoever's in charge is the only person that really has to be kind of, steered in the right direction, besides all the other little cronies that have been bought off. I mean, we're seeing that right now with the rise of the deep state. We're seeing how many different people are involved in this globalism scheme that's going on. This is that soft coup that's happening, the soft civil coup that is happening in our country, that is happening in our government. We're seeing this rise of nationalism and globalism, but it's basically the same thing. They're all tentacles, all getting paid off and lobbied to by the same evil people. My point is this: they're providing us the illusion of control. But how this affects us is if they take this person down, or when they take this person down, this is going to radically affect what is happening to our country and how we are seen, not only internally but externally. Let's take a listen. Democrats drawing up articles of impeachment against Trump. Representative Steve Cohen of the Democrat from Tennessee.
But I am proud to stand here with my friend Congressman Gutierrez, with other Congress people who will be here, in announcing that we are introducing articles of impeachment to remove President Trump from office. There will be, I believe, 6 signatories on the resolution. We have taken this action because of great concern for our country and our Constitution, our national security, and our democracy. We believe that President Trump has violated the Constitution, and we've introduced 5 articles of impeachment. The first is obstruction of justice, which deals with Mr. Comey's firing. The second is a violation of the Constitution's Foreign Emolument Clause, which deals with monies he's taken from foreign powers without the consent of Congress. The third is a violation of the Domestic Emoluments Clause, which deals with monies he's made from the United States and as personal businesses beyond that of his salary, which is also forbidden by our Constitution. The fourth is undermining our federal judiciary. But I am proud to stand here with my friend, Congressman Gutierrez.
So definitely a lot of different things going up against Trump. The firing of Comey, like he said, taking money from foreign powers, and then some of the money that he's taken here in our own country. It's very real, very, very true. We're all presidents are corrupt, man. They're all suits. I mean, what would we spending like a good minute on talking about with Jeff Bezos? All these deals that are going on. There's a lot of different things happening in the background that background and foreground that we see happening. I mean, what was that deal with Saudi Arabia? You know, and now he's asking for $700 billion to deal with North Korea. A lot of money getting tossed around. You know, and these are the actions of a dictator. These are the it seems like, you know, the actions of somebody taking charge. Well, you know, you give a man all the power. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, that's how this works. Give it over to him. He's gonna do it. We knew it. We knew what happened when we got him in there. We had our choices between him or Hillary Clinton. That's why I was just like, we are literally stuck in between a rock and a hard place. But like I said, now that we're here, you really got to look at what's happened to our country. You see, people try to act like things aren't bad. Well, things have always been this bad. They're just getting televised now, and we're having to do something about them instead of sitting back. We can't just be kicking back. You know, we are actually being forced and triggered into states of action. It's crazy. It's crazy. You see, you know, that's why all this pedogate stuff. And if you ask me, I feel like all this pedogate stuff has become a bit of a distraction at this point. All of this stuff that we see happening, you know, approving of $700 billion for the cash cow of weapons companies. You know, there's so much going on, but them trying to impeach Trump, and it may very well happen, this will send our country in more of a spiral than it's already in. You see, and that's what's kind of got me a little apprehensive about what's going on. You see, speaking of apprehensive, why is it that every time we hear something from Pope Francis, it's in relation to climate change? Apprehensive. This man, this guy, Pope Francis. You know, we have COP23 coming up, and just earlier this month, you know, Pope Francis and a lot of other people from science, from the Pontifical Academy of Science, met to talk about global warming, climate change, and all this other stuff. But he's saying that climate change deniers are perverse. Yeah, yep, I'm sure we are, because we don't believe in we don't believe in what you believe in, Pope Francis. You believe in something else, don't you? That's why all those pedophiles, that's 600 billion coming out of the Vatican from diddling them children. You sick son of a gun. My point is this: when looking at world governance, what does that look like? Climate change. These people are subtly working in the background of everything, trying to get us into that mindset, having us abide by, you know, what is happening to the world. And this is something that I touch on a lot, because we have to understand what that kind of means. They're literally putting us not out to pasture, but the exact opposite. They're saying, you know what? There's a lot of environmental problems threatening humanity's future, and you might be one of them. So you need to actually do something about that. Some of the problems that they were talking about, you know, they said that there's a drop in the harvest of wild-caught fish despite an increase in the fishing effort. There's been a 75% increase in the number of ocean dead zones. There's been a loss of nearly 300 million acres of forest land, much of it converted for agricultural use. Continuing significant increases in global carbon emissions and average temperatures, a 35% rise in human population, and a collective 29% reduction in the number of mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and fish. So this is why they're trying to conduct all of the different depopulation efforts that they can against humanity. And I mean through vaccines. We heard about how the FDA has announced that they are creating a digital pill that can modify behavior. We also hear about how scientists are now trying to genetically edit people. You see, and you got to think about this. This ties into the smart cities and everything else that we see happen. Smart cities, NEOM, and everything else that's going on. With this, and this is why they're trying to create these places. They'll have these little population centers, and then it'll be, you know, all kinds of green, lush environments around us. But we'll be in these domes, in these areas, these smart cities where everything is monitored, and they'll have all this stuff out here around us, the nature, the mountains, the rivers, the canyons, the plateaus, the mesas, everything. They'll have all that still there, but we won't have access to it. We'll be confined basically to our city. That's climate change. That's world government. That's what these people are trying to do. You see. That's why we see literally the old system collapsing. Oil is going through some stuff. This is why we see oil going through stuff. This is why we hear about banks admitting how fiat currencies are failing and cryptocurrencies may replace them. I think Bitcoin's at like 7,000 after it took like $1,000 dip. This is why they're saying Trump is blamed for more global warming. I put this up here, because not only will it weed out the idiots, but it also confirms part of the other agenda that they're doing, the psyop to get us more involved in global warming, to where we start calling our president to take action for these types of things. Saying, oh, he cares about the planet. He cares about global warming. He cares about carbon emissions. This is why you have Governor Jerry Brown of California quietly meeting President Xi Jinping. The president of China, the president of China, meeting with Governor Jerry Brown quietly. That's sketchy. That's way low key. Way low key. But let me get into this article. It says Trump blamed for more global warming. November 15th is when I put it up, and it's from the Georgia Report feed. It said that U.S. President Trump's pullout from the Paris Agreement will push up global temperatures nearly half a degree Celsius, 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit, by 2100, according to a report released Wednesday at UN Climate Talks in Bonn. So before I get into this, why I'm talking about climate change and world government and all this other stuff, because they're using this as a springboard to do so much. Not only are we going to start seeing them release like new technology, that's why I put up the 3D printer that could pull water from the air, a dehumidifier. Not only are they going to be releasing new technologies, but they're going to also begin editing the human, changing our existence so that we can become more adaptable to the planet. Now, this might seem like a good thing, but I think it's kind of crazy, because you're doing gene editing. You're creating epigenetic diseases and all kinds of other things that play into this end game to where we become monsters. So they first have to modify the environment, and then they will modify us. You see, so degrees Celsius going up in 2100, that's how far they're looking down the path. It won't be that far. It's Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and Agenda 2050. And that's what these people are sequentially planning to do. But let me finish this up and get into this article so I can try to cram some more stuff in here for you guys. It says, if all countries, including the United States, honor carbon cutting pledges under the 196 nation treaty, the world would see 2.8 Celsius of global warming above pre-industrial levels. The Climate Action Tracker CAP research group had previously calculated. That is not nearly good enough to avoid climate catastrophe, scientists say. The Paris Pact, adopted in 2015, calls for capping the rise at well below 2 degrees Celsius and even 1.5 degrees Celsius if possible, to avoid climate-addled future of extreme drought, deadly heat waves, and superstorms made more destructive by rising seas. And so this is, again, why you saw with Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria, what's going on with California, Texas, and Florida, the whole West Coast being on fire. This is the post-weather modification. This is what they're trying to do, the socioeconomic reformation. They're trying to use global warming as a springboard to change the entire society, to have us abide by this global agreement. You see, but if the U.S. abandons its goal for reducing greenhouse gases set under the Obama administration, the end of the century thermometer will climb even further to 3.2 Celsius, the report showed. Quote, this is largely due to the fact that the United States is walking away from its 2030 target and its long-term 2050 goals, Catt said in a statement. Oh, everything I was just talking about. In 2015, the United States made a voluntary commitment to cut the country's emissions 26 to 28% below 2005 levels by 2025. Last year, it almost laid out a mid-century strategy that would see its emissions slashed 80% compared to a 2005 benchmark. So that's my point. They're trying to say that all this global warming, that this geoengineering, that this modifying of the environment is good. And this is why we actually have Congress talking about the idea of them, modifying nature, of them, doing climate change. They want to modify the environment, and if they can modify the environment, they can begin to modify us. You see, and I know that sounds kind of wild, but like I said right here, Congress considering weather manipulation to combat climate change. Now, I could spend an entire episode talking about just climate change alone, but my point is with this, they're admitting to doing these types of things. They're admitting to this. They're going to commit to this. Like they said, this was allowed under the Obama administration. They will continue to do these things, and they're going to continue it. I mean, what are chemtrails? What is HARP? What is cloud seeding? What are all these types of things? You see. But what we have to look at is when they're modifying the weather like this, when they're changing up everything, what kind of environment does this have? I mean, and the reason I say that is because right after Hurricane Harvey, they released the chemical NAILed. That was the same thing that they sprayed in Florida in 2015 with the Zika virus. If they're modifying the environment, spraying all these types of chemicals, spraying all these types of things, changing up everything, the rhythm of the planet, and then you throw all these lab-grown mosquitoes into the mix, what kind of chemical cocktail for chaos is this? You see, they're creating all kinds of epigenetic diseases, mutations, but now they're having drug-resistant superbugs, and all of this stuff that's what I'm saying. If they can modify the environment, they can modify us. Right there, Minnesota tuberculosis outbreak of a multi-drug resistant strain is hard to fight. Let's go through this. That's Minnesota that they're talking about, where there's a multi-drug strain resistant thing. On top of that, they're saying that this year's flu vaccine is ineffective. Again, okay, let's keep going. Because that rapper Lil Peep died today because he was doing a whole bunch of pharmaceuticals. People are overdosing on this stuff, overdosing on heroin, on the opioid epidemic, but we're over here having to fight drug-resistant superbugs right here. EPA just approved the release of weaponized mosquitoes in the United States. Thanks to the EPA. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's see if I can. There's one more article. There should be two more, a few more. I've been trying to keep my eye on this. All these things that have been happening. No, okay. Well, there's got to be more on this right there. Man died of flesh-eating bacteria after helping with Hurricane Harvey relief. Necrotizing fasciitis. Exactly. These types of things are out there, and this is the cocktail that they're creating for us. On top of that, like I said, the hepatitis A outbreak that is spreading in Michigan. This is the bio warfare. This is all the crazy stuff I'm talking about. Drug-resistant superbugs are only one aspect of this. You see, drug-resistant superbugs, genetically modified mosquitoes, hepatitis outbreaks. This is the bio warfare. Right here, apocalyptic smog causes health concerns. New Delhi has become a gas chamber. They're releasing all of this stuff so that they can come through with their solutions and try to fix it. But in fixing it, they will cause more problems. You see right here, Governor Jerry Brown, the Vatican faithful. We need a total, I might say, brainwashing. Now, what would Governor Jerry Brown be talking about, saying that we need a brainwashing for? Think about that. Why would I stop right here talking about this, man? This is from Technocracy News. We put it up November 9th. It's by Christopher Catalego. It says, Governor Jerry Brown is panicked and incensed over global warming, demanding a forced global transformation. He states, quote, we need to wash our brains out and see a very different kind of world. When Brown attended a Jesuit seminary in his youth, they taught him to meditate, apply self-mortification, and which included painful self-flagellation. Even as he admits that he wasn't transformed, he calls for the whole world to transform or to be transformed into a carbonless utopia. Governor Jerry Brown challenged the world's religious leader to further engage as he minimized the negative effects of President Donald Trump on the meeting of climate change challenge. The quote, the Trump factor is very small, very, very small indeed, in comparison to the commitments taking place around the world, Brown said to a burst of applause Saturday at an event organized by the Vatican's Pontifical Academy of Sciences. Like I said, this is who Pope Francis and all those other people from the Pontifical Academy of Science were meeting on November 4th. This is who they were meeting with, Governor Jerry Brown. So you got the Pope talking to Governor Jerry Brown. You got Jerry Brown over here talking to the president of China. This is that world government, and he's over here saying that the Trump factor is very, very small. You see, this is that behind the scenes world government that's working on stuff. Let me get on to this. It says that's nothing to cheer about, because if it was only Trump that was a problem, we'd have had it solved. But that's not our only problem. The problem is us. It's our way of life. It's our comfort. It's the greed. It's the indulgence. It's the pattern. And it's the inertia. Brown, who arrived Friday for nearly 2 weeks of climate talks across Europe, said that the path to transformational change must include the mass mobilization of the religious and theological sphere, but also the prophetic sphere. Quote, the power here is prophecy, the power here is faith, and that's what this organization is supposed to be about. So let's be about it, and combine with the technical and the scientific and the political to slow the devastation of climate change. Society cannot rely on science and technology and must begin to accept the need for more transformational approaches, Brown said. He spoke for more than 40 minutes, punctuating his remarks and answers to attending scientists to reflect on his own experiences. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the socio-economic reformation, the transformation of what we see happening. Transforming society so that we can abide by their rules. You see, and I know that sounds out there, but they're going to do it. You just, like I just read, we just heard that Jerry Brown is over here saying that the Trump factor is very small because they're taking care of things outside of that. And if he was the only factor, they would have had it solved by now. The problem is us. As I've been saying, we are the problem because we're resisting this type of stuff. We see the kind of world they're trying to put out there for us. Like I said, modifying the environment to begin modifying themselves, to modify us. See what is actually going on. Let me see if, with the time that we have, let me get into this article that we put up where we talk about how the FDA is modifying behavior using a digital pill. This is something that I've talked about too, that Bill Gates has his tentacles in, that he's involved in. But like I said, if they can modify the environment, say, you know what, you need to stop populating, you need to stop having children, and they've already done this, and they're doing this around the world with the one-child policy and so much more, because this is global governance. They're telling us stop procreating. This is an anti-human agenda. Stop procreating. But let me get into this. It says FDA approves first digital pill for behavior modification. I put this up November 15th, and it's on our website. It says, as one technocrat physician stated, quote, when patients don't adhere to a lifestyle or medications that are prescribed for them, there are really substantiated consequences. Healthcare can enter a new phase as treatment is delivered by enforceable drug regimens. Physicians will be mandated to use digital drugs or face censure or dismissal. Physicians are already subject to evidence-based medicine, EBM, where treatments are mandated from above, with penalties for non-compliance. For the first time, the Food and Drug Administration has approved a digital pill, a medication embedded with a sensor that can tell doctors whether and when patients take their medicine. The approval, basically it's a tracking chip. A digital tracking chip. The approval, announced late on Monday, marks a significant advance in the growing field of digital devices designed to monitor medicine taking and to address the expensive, long-standing problem that millions of patients do not take their drugs as prescribed. So they're literally trying to give us digital pills while we have Donald Trump over here saying that the opioid epidemic is crazy. We got Lil Peep, that 21-year-old rapper over here dying. Donald Trump over here saying the opioid epidemic is a crisis. People who have drug-resistant superbugs. Amazon basically being given a license to trade or to sell pharmaceuticals, but it's okay. The FDA wants you to have a digital pill that makes sure you take your medication. Experts estimate that the so-called non-adherence or non-compliance to medication costs about $100 billion a year, much of it because patients get sicker and need additional treatment or hospitalization. Quote, when patients don't adhere to a lifestyle or medications that are prescribed to them, there are really substantive consequences that are bad for the patient and very costly, said Dr. William Schrank, Chief Medical Officer of the Health Plan Division at the United Pittsburgh Medical Center. Amit Saratarpi, an instructor in the medicine at Harvard Medical School, said the digital pill, quote, has potential to improve public health, especially for patients who want to take their medication but forget. But, he added, if used properly, it could foster more mistrust instead of trust. Patients who agree to take the digital medication, a version of the antipsychotic Abilify, can sign consent forms allowing their doctors and up to 4 people, including family members, to receive electronic data showing the time and date the pills are ingested. So basically, you get tracked. You're getting tracked. You are getting tracked with all that. But they're not going to stop there. They're not going to stop there. If that's just in your system, sending out that kind of information, what is one step over? You're just ingesting something that is sending out a signal and telling you, okay, or you're reacting to a signal that's telling you to act a certain way. But what's one step away from that? Why don't they just do away with the pills entirely? Why don't they just edit your genes from inside the person? That's exactly what they're doing in California. Put this up November 15th is from the Georgia Report feed. It says scientists tried gene editing inside person for the first time. And I have another article up here where we talk about biohackers getting all crazy with their bodies, because this is what I'm trying to say. If they can modify the environment, they can modify you. Take this digital pill. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it sending signals. We can also send it signals. You see, scientists for the first time have tried gene editing, or have tried editing a gene inside the body of in a bold attempt to permanently change a person's DNA to try to cure a disease. The experiment was done Monday in California on 44-year-old Brian Mado through an IV. He received billions of copies of a corrective gene and a genetic tool to cut his DNA in a precise spot. Quote, it's the kind of humbling to be the kind of first to test this, said Mado, he who has a metabolic disease called Hunter syndrome. I'm willing to take a risk. Hopefully it will help me and other people. Signs of whether it's working may come in a month. Tests will show for sure in 3 months. If it's successful, it could give a major boost to the fledgling field of gene therapy. Scientists have edited people's genes before. It's altering cells in the lab that are then returned to patients. There are also gene therapies that don't involve editing DNA. But these methods can only be used for a few types of diseases. Some give results that may not last. Some others supply a new gene, like a spare part, but can't control where it inserts in the DNA, possibly causing a new problem like cancer. Scientists for the first time have tried editing the genes in this DNA, or in this person's body. This time, the gene tinkering is happening in a precise way inside the body. It's like sending a mini surgeon along to place the new gene in exactly the right location. Quote, we cut your DNA, open it up, insert a gene, stitch it back, invisible mending, said Dr. Sandy McRae, president of Sangamo Therapeutics, the Californian company testing this for 2 metabolic diseases and hemophilia. It becomes part of your DNA and is therefore part of your rest of life. That also means that there's no going back, no way to erase the mistakes that the editing might cause. So that's the crazy stuff that we're talking about. What happens whenever they start editing the surrounding, our society? What happens whenever they start editing everything we see around us? Can we go back? Are they creating epigenetic diseases? Yes, right now it seems like it's awesome because they're cutting out all these diseases. But what happens here in the future whenever all of the diseases are cut out? What happens if these diseases actually give us immunities, help us build a natural immunity, are good for us to some degree? Sometimes we need that adversity to change. But if they're being technocrats, as they are, what they do, changing up everything, what happens whenever they create monsters? I'm gonna get into this and then I'll close this episode out for you guys right here. Biohackers are using CRISPR to edit their own DNA. Editing genetics is becoming more and more mainstream, and using the gene editing tool CRISPR-Cas9, biohackers are altering their own DNA. CRISPR, a cheap and easy technique for making precise changes to DNA, has got researchers around the world racing to trial its use in the treating of a human host. But this race is not confined to the lab or to scientists donning the typical white lab coat. Last month, Josiah Zayner, a biochemist who once worked for NASA, became the first person known to have edited his own genes with CRISPR. Zane's experiment was intended to boost his strength by removing the gene from myostatin, which regulates muscle growth. A similar experiment in 2015 showed that this works in beagles whose genomes were edited at the embryo stage. He injected himself with a copy of his own DNA that he had been edited using CRISPR to remove the gene. So that's it. You know, they're out there messing, and I'll continue to talk about this article. I want to get up this video of these cloned dogs. You know, they're messing with DNA. That's how this works. They're creating their own types of people. You see, so cloning is not too far-fetched. You got to ask yourself these days, what kind of cloning? What are they doing? What does life take on? Are they humans at that point? Are they meta-humans? Are they superhumans? Are they even real? These types of things are going on, but he's carrying on the same type of experiment that was carried on by a beagle, or done to a beagle. That's crazy. Okay, continuing on, and I'll finish up this article for you. It says, during a lecture about human genetic engineering that was streamed live on Facebook, Zayner whipped out a vial of edited DNA and a syringe and then injected himself. Now, following in his footsteps, other biohackers are getting ready to take the plunge and tinker with their own genes. This might seem a little crazy to some, but humans are, and should be, allowed to tattoo, pierce, or modify their bodies surgically to create any type of appearance. Genetic alterations should be no different. And this is, this is a slippery slope. That's all I'm saying. What happens when these people can't go back to being normal? What happens whenever we start creating monsters? What happens whenever we start creating drug-resistant superbugs? You see, and this is the kind of life that we really need to start asking ourselves. This is the world that we're creating. And they'll have all kinds of different regulations for it, I can assure you. When you start looking at this is the end game. As I said before, with Asgardia and these people trying to put themselves in near-Earth orbit, this is end game. This is the epigenetic end game. By modifying our surroundings and thus modifying us, they can eventually checkmate us, corrupt our DNA so that we can never know what human looks like, because we think it's so cool. They don't get into the deep parts of this. They don't look at how this distorts us. This is the darker part of transhumanism. You see, this is the censorship, rising powers, and world governance. This is what these people are trying to do. And that's all I really have for you guys. I know I kind of went over a lot, but it's to kind of really illustrate what this new world order looks like, what we're actually looking at, the scope of things. It's intense. It's definitely intense whenever you take a step back and start looking at like what we really are up against. Why, I start saying things like I think we might be one of the last natural born generations, with how many different things we have up against us and what we see coming down the barrel and what they're trying to get us to accept. I mean, look at what happened in California just this week alone, with police officers walking right up to people saying, do you have your vaccine shots? It's crazy. Things are crazy. But like I said, I know I went over a lot. Make sure you guys are checking out the website, factionsofreedom.jimdo.com, and once you're there, just get lost. There's all kinds of content, and if you want to support us, find us on Patreon or buy a t-shirt, buy a previous season. Any kind of contribution helps. $1 here, $1 there. It gets us where we're going. Help us fight this censorship and keep moving. Like I said, that's all I really have for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. And as always, guys, stay vigilant. Expose lies and share truth. This is Noisera, Freedom Faction, out.